7 o'clock, so I will call this meeting of the Westfield, Washington Township Board of Zoning Appeals to order. Staff, can you note the presence of a quorum, please?
Ms. Fortier.
Here.
Mr. Morales.
Here.
Mr. Schmitz.
Here.
Mr. McCarty.
Here.
Mr. Buller.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. Before we get into any items of business and initial issues, we do have two matters that were continued. So if anyone in the audience is here or anyone listening online is here for the item at 603 West 216th Street, Michael Quinn is the petitioner, or 3810 West 146th Street in the Latin School, both those items are continued to next month's meeting and won't be addressed tonight. So just want to make you aware of that in case that's why you're here. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the August 10th, 2021 meeting. We've had the opportunity to review those minutes. Do we have anyone from the board with any questions, comments, or concerns about those minutes? Or I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for August 10, 2021 minutes.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Fortier, second by, is that Mr. McCarty, to approve the minutes from August 10th, 2021. All those in favor of voice vote indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We can do that since everyone's here, right?
Since we're still
I keep
operating virtually, we're supposed to be doing roll call.
You want to do a
Even
roll
though
call?
You're all present.
I can do a roll call.
Okay.
Ms. Fortier.
Yes.
Mr. Morales.
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz.
Yes,
Mr. McCarty.
Yes.
Mr. Buller.
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you. And Dane, if you'll review the rules and procedures for tonight's hearing.
Due to the COVID-19 emergency as declared by the Governor of Indiana, the format and conduct of the meeting has been modified to comply with executive orders regarding the conduct of public meetings, public hearings, and public gatherings. Relevant portion of the Indiana Open Door Law have been amended or suspended during the pendency of the emergency. For the items requiring a public hearing this evening, which is all of them, tonight's meeting has the following structure. The department will summarize the petition, then the petitioner will be given up to 15 minutes to present to the board. The president will open a public hearing. Individuals will be given 3 minutes to speak. The public hearing will be closed when all interested members of the audience have had a chance to be heard and all emails received during the meeting have been provided to board members. The petitioner will then have a chance to respond to comments. The board will follow with any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the petition. For the rules of conduct this evening, please do not disrupt the proceedings in any way. If you need to have a private discussion, we ask that you please quietly exit the room. Please silence your devices at this time. If you must answer them, then please quietly exit the room. If you are attending in person and wish to speak in regard to a petition scheduled for a public hearing, please fill out a yellow card. They are in the back of the room by the door. Once the public hearing is opened by the president, then please provide us your yellow card as you approach the podium. During your comments, please state your name and address into the microphone for the record, and we ask that you not repeat previously stated comments. Your presentation will be timed, and you will be advised when there is approximately 30 seconds remaining. If you are not attending in person, comments regarding a petition should be emailed to planners@westfield.in.gov with the petition name or number included in the subject line. Those comments will be forwarded to the board members and the petitioner. We would like to remind everyone to please speak directly into the microphone so your comments can be put onto the record. Also, please mute your microphone when not speaking. Thank you.
Thank you. First item on the agenda tonight is 2108 VU 03, 217 Mill Street. Petitioner 4E LLC is requesting a variance of use to permit a low-intensity retail use in the MF1 district. And that is Mr. Ernest.
Thank you, President, members of the board. For the record, Caleb Ernest with the Community Development Department. The project before you tonight is a variance of use request to permit low-intensity retail use on the property. The property is zoned MF1, multifamily low density, and is located at 217 Mill Street. Adjacent properties north and south are also zoned MF1. To the west is zoned MF1 and Park Street and Junction, PUD, and to the east is zoned Grand Junction Plaza, PUD. The petitioner is requesting a variance of use to permit a gift and coffee shop with a bakery and limited seating. This item is before you for a public hearing. It has been properly noticed and advertised. Staff has received one public comment. as well as a Grand Junction endorsement. So I'll pass those out right now. Other than the one comment in the Grand Junction Task Group endorsement, staff has received no other public comments. Dean Petruzzi, along with his team, as well as others representing the project, are here both in person and virtually. They plan on making a brief presentation to which they and staff are available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caleb. I hope everyone can hear me. My name is Joseph Simia. My address is 124 Chatham Hills Boulevard, Westfield, Indiana, 46074. I'm here tonight with Mr. Petruzzi and other representatives of the business that's proposed for this facility. I would like to first explain to you that Mr. Petruzzi, who is the applicant, intends to acquire the property located at 217 Mill Street, which consists of a platted lot in the southern half of an alley which was previously vacated. He would make minor improvements to the exterior of the property, as you've seen in the surveyor location report, consisting primarily of some future decking and some temporary parking to assist with parking at the facility. The property would, yes.
Hold on, Joe, we lost you.
Am I still on?
You're good. You might want to go back about 10 seconds. Though.
Okay.
Hold on. I mean, there's a lot of echo here.
Seem to be getting some feedback. I apologize. I don't think it's me. We okay?
Hold on a second, we're shutting off some mics.
All right, Joe, go ahead. Try again. Nope, that didn't do it. Sam, are you there? IT? All right, Joe, go ahead. Do you have a computer and a cell phone on, Joe?
No, I do not.
Okay. Let's wait a minute. Try to get a hold of IT. Testing. Oh, we're good. Okay. I don't know what happened there, Joe, but go ahead.
Thank you, Caleb. Well, I'm not sure I lost everybody, but I think I introduced myself, and I was about to explain that Mr. Petruzzi, who is the owner-operator of 4E LLC, proposes to acquire the property at 217 Mill Street.
Hey, Joe, now you're trailing off. Your volume is going down.
I got
Joe.
the volume as high as I can.
Joe, go ahead and pause. We can't hear you right now.
You cannot hear me.
No, your volume is very low.
Okay, I'm going to try to call in on my cell phone as opposed to the computer and see if that works better. And then I'll just disconnect.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, Joe, if you'd like, you can call in on your cell phone and we will put your cell phone up to a speaker.
Okay, hold on. Can you hear me now?
You're good. Still a little low, but we can hear you okay.
Okay, try this again. Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, so as I was trying to explain, the applicant in this matter is 4E LLC, which is a company which is owned and operated by Mr. Dean Petruzzi, who's there this evening to answer any questions. His proposal is to basically make minor exterior renovations to existing single-family home located at 217 Mill Street. That property consists of a single lot that was platted, as well as the southern half of an unimproved alley, which was vacated in the past. The exterior improvements will obviously consist of improving the exterior appearance of the property and really providing some exterior decking and a few temporary parking spots to provide parking for patrons of the property. The property then would be leased to a company by the name of Something Splendid. For those of you that may have had some time in advance to look at their website, you can see that they're engaged in the storage, assembly, sale, and delivery of gift items and gift boxes. And I've asked Elise Petruzzi from Something Splendid to give a brief presentation as to what the business will consist of. And I believe she's joined this evening by two of her colleagues, Aaron Petruzzi and Allison Purtle. Elise, are you there?
Here. Okay. Hi, my name is Elise Petruzzi, and I am co-owner of Something Splendid. I am alongside my partners, Allison and Aaron. We
Elise,
wanted, yes.
Let me interrupt you for 1 second.
Sure.
If you'll just state your address for the public record for our
611 Ash Drive, Carmel, Indiana, 46032. We wanted to thank you for the opportunity to be able to stand in front of you today and present our story. Prior to starting Something Splendid, we loved picking out the perfect gift and the idea of how a gift can connect people, console people, and help people feel celebrated. Since starting Something Splendid, we have seen the power that gift giving can have on so many. Something Splendid is a gift box company that is internet-based. It allows consumers and companies to pick and choose custom gift boxes to ship to others. We sell gift boxes for just about any reason you can think of as to why someone may need a gift, including birthdays, thinking of you, holidays, with employee appreciation gifts being our most popular. We have some examples of our boxes here tonight. We love supporting local brands, women-owned brands, minority brands, and brands that give back to foundations. Our boxes are all shipped with a handwritten note, and customers have the option to purchase already made boxes or to build their own box. In 2020, we saw extreme growth as we were able to ship during the pandemic. We gained customers like Google, Snapchat, Medtronic, and Republic Airways. The growth that occurred during this year allowed us to leave our corporate jobs and take on Something Splendid full-time. We are currently located in a warehouse in Castleton area. We have currently outgrown our space and have some issues with safety concerns as well. We have close ties to Westfield as our parents live here, and we used to work at the office buildings down the street. We have become extremely familiar with both the restaurants and the shops located in the downtown area, and we are encouraged by the growth and opportunities of being located in Westfield. As a result, we targeted this area when it became apparent that we needed to relocate our business. We worked with several local business owners, including Mr. Whitesell, and identified 217 Mill Street as the perfect location to relocate. We are looking for a space that can accommodate our growing needs, and the primary basis and use of the building will remain to assemble boxes, store our inventory, and ship these gift boxes through the internet-based portion of our business. But we would love the opportunity for people from the community to get to experience building their customized gift boxes in person rather than just from behind a computer. We love the idea of making our gift boxes an interactive experience and would also like the ability to serve drinks and baked goods to our customers to enhance this experience. We've communicated with the Grand Junction Task Group, and they support what we are doing here. We hope you see value of what a gift can bring and how this can add to the experience and growth of downtown Westfield. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present our passion and our plans for gift giving with you. We hope that we can continue our business in an area we love and that downtown Westfield can become part of our growing business. Do I might mute?
Thank you, Elise. Well, I think Elise did an excellent job of explaining what the proposed plans are for the property. I would note that the applicant has submitted proposed findings of fact to support the grant of the variance, and that's being incorporated into the record. And with that, we would be available to answer any questions that the board may have. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead, unless there's any initial questions for any of the petitioner representative, we're petitioners themselves, I'm gonna go ahead and open the public hearing. Is that all right? Okay. You guys can have a seat. We'll open the public hearing, and there may be some questions for you. Open the public hearing at 7:15. Do we have any cards?
We have one card, Melody Jones. No, go ahead. Go ahead and push it. Yep.
Push, it says push. Good evening. I'm pleased to be here and before the BZA. My name is Melody Jones. I reside at 211 Mill Street. I am the north neighbor of 217 Mill Street. I've lived in my home for nearly 32 years and lived across the street at 210 Mill Street for 7 years prior to that. The original homeowner that built the home at 217 in 1982 was my neighbor for many, many years before she passed away. I am in support of the changes to our neighborhood, converting homes to businesses and new design and new construction throughout downtown Westfield. I am not against the use that Mr. Petruzzi is planning for this property, and I am in support of the business that he is representing. And I want to congratulate the young ladies for having a successful business. That's awesome. However, I do not support the site plan that was included with the variance application. I do dispute the property location shown on that plan. Doing my due diligence, I have hired Terra Site Design, which is a Westfield business, to perform a staked survey of my property. Their preliminary findings show that there is a discrepancy in what is presented on this plan. Tara is working on the final plan, or the final report, I apologize, and I should have that soon. I do not wish to hold up Mr. Petruzzi from purchasing this property from my neighbor, Tracy Cassidy. But I do want to make sure that no dirt is moved or construction of the on-site parking that they're proposing takes place until the final stake survey is done and that we can come up to an agreement on what the on-site parking should be. If we do discover that there's room to add parking as they have laid out, the headlights from those cars would shine directly into my front room and my kitchen. And I would request that some type of screening would be provided on that property to screen my windows from that. Again, I am in complete support of Mr. Petruzzi's business use and the use variance that they're seeking tonight. But I understand that the BZA does not approve site plans, but you do have influence on what that looks like. So I would like to go on the record, both to you and to our planning department, to not, how do I want to say, because you're not approving it, but to not add that as part of the use for tonight. I will be here if anybody has any questions of me. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Do we have any other cards?
No more cards.
Do you check electronics and make sure nothing's come in?
Yep. No emails at this time yet either.
Okay. Then I will go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:18. Does the petitioner have any response to the comments in the public hearing? Joe or the petitioner themselves? Did we lose Joe? Joe, are you there?
Joe?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Great. There appears to be a little delay, but it sounds like we've made connection. I just want to say in response to Ms. Jones, we have had discussions with Ms. Jones, Mr. Petruzzi has, and we certainly acknowledge her concern. And to the extent that there would ever be any parking placed as indicated by the site plan, I can tell you that Mr. Petruzzi would go to measures to make sure it's properly screened so as not to interfere with the light, onto her property. That's really not the issue. The issue seems to be that when you look at the site plan, you will see in the area where it's labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, there's a half vacated alley right away. And when the vacation of the alley occurred, the southern half went to lot 217, the northern half went to 211, which is Melody Jones. There is a driveway that has been constructed. The survey that Mr. Hahn prepared for Mr. Petruzzi shows a hard line that says adjacent concrete drive that's located in the southern half of the vacated alley. Mrs. Jones, I believe, has engaged a surveyor, and they may have came to a different conclusion. At the end of the day, we will have to resolve where that property line is. And all Mr. Petruzzi wants to make sure is that he gets lot 7 and the southern half of the vacated alley, and ultimately we'll have to determine where that concrete drive has been located. If it's all on Ms. Jones' property, there won't be an issue. And if part of it is on the southern half of the vacated alley, then Mr. Petruzzi has told me that he intends to work with Mrs. Jones to work out some sort of arrangement. Mr. Petruzzi can speak for himself, but I can tell you he's made it very clear to me, and I believe Mrs. Jones would agree that he has reached out to her and told her that he wants to work this out in an amicably fashion and be a good neighbor. So we do not believe that this affects the request for the use variance tonight, and that before anything would be done with the 4 parking spaces, which really we've been told by staff to require variance, or before they would be installed, we will have a resolution as to where that property line is and whether or not it can accommodate additional parking. So I'm glad to answer any questions.
Did you have anything else to add, anybody on the petitioner side? Okay. If someone on the petitioner side could explain how that parking is contemplated, because you show an asphalt drive, and then presumably there's grass in between that and the concrete drive that's been constructed wherever it is relative to the property line. Do you contemplate putting a hard surface down to span between or over either of those driveways? What's the plan? And Mr. Petruzzi, if you'll go ahead and say your name and
Sure.
address for the record, please.
Yeah, Dean Petruzzi, 20283 Chatham Creek Drive, Westfield, Indiana. We haven't went too far on figuring out how that's all going to work. We probably will not, if that is actually our lot line, we probably will put gravel down in place of the grass that is up there right now. That would be our goal. We are asking for a 5-year variance. Quite frankly, we don't want to make things too permanent in case after 5 years, we sell the property or you don't grant another variance or rezone. So our initial thinking is it would be gravel there between the 2 driveways to pull cars into.
Thank you. And I was going to ask staff, but I'd like your opinion on it as well. Are those 4 spaces there to meet a requirement of Westfield's, or is that just space that you need to operate your business?
Yeah, the latter,
Okay.
yeah.
And Caleb, so it's not a requirement that, I wasn't clear on where the property's located. I know on the Park Street stuff, parking, at least in the sub-district plan, parking is not vital. But then this isn't technically in that, even though the improvements are very similar to the Park Street properties.
Right, that's correct, and that's something that would be remedied at a building permit stage as well. So if there's any parking that was proposed at that point, it would be either revised or it'd go through during any building permit remodel phase of the property or of the site. It'd have to go through zoning inspection at that point.
Okay, but in terms of an absolute requirement, because it's kind of I guess it doesn't matter if the petitioner wants that, he wants that, so I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so specifically, I was pulling up our parking standards in our UDO, and it specifically relates to downtown zoning districts, and reading verbatim here, it says parking space requirements for uses in the following zoning districts may be waived by the plan commission or director if determined sufficient parking alternatives available in the city's downtown. So there is some discretion made by the director, or if requested by the plan commission as well in that situation. So the downtown zoning district works a little in a special case for
Okay.
parking situations.
So it's kind of a moot point here in the instance, because the petitioner wants it anyway. While you're up there, though, I did have a question that Mr. Petruzzi brought up. With the recommended conditions that are proposed in in the staff report, there isn't a time duration. I was questioning that as well. That, to me, that's something that would be appropriate, given if I interpret the comp plan for that sub-district correctly, then ideally, in the long term, a building of greater scope would be desired there with more vantage, more view, more, oriented towards the plaza. Is that correct?
Staff would be okay with the 5-year condition
Yeah,
on the
okay,
report.
okay, and great, and it sounds like petitioner is as well, so. Yes. Okay. Others on the board, any questions for the petitioner or staff?
I have a question, but I'm not sure who it goes to. On Mill Street, there is street parking there, is that correct? But it looks like right in front of this property is yellow lines where nobody can park. And I'm sure it's because of the drives. Is that the case? There's no parking there on the street where those yellow lines are?
That is accurate. Those yellow areas shown on the map are no parking areas, correct?
Thank you.
Would that change?
I can't speak to that. Public Works Department would be the ones to make that call, but my guess is, to Ms. Fortier's point, those are there because of the drives and therefore likely to not change.
Sure.
I believe the other two spaces in between the yellow lines are handicap spots. So there effectively is no parking in the general area. There are some further north. Right now, Ms. Jones and I were talking about this last night. As a matter of fact, it's generally taken, for the most part, by the construction people across the street. So I'm not sure how that'll free up and when it'll free up. Thank you.
Well, I think the boundary line issue is going to be resolved by surveyors. That's not really an issue within our scope. And the use seems appropriate the business seems appropriate for the area, certainly. So any other questions, concerns?
Just briefly, not more so a question, but more so just opinion on the project. I mean, you guys are prime real estate right across from Grand Junction. I mean, this is going to be perfect as we move forward, whether it be just the 5 years or whatever it may be. You guys are the first business that people are going to see going to Grand Junction, so lucky spot there. If it was just the online retail portion and packing boxes, et cetera, I would say a better use would have been along Jersey Street. But when I read the emphasis of gift and coffee shop with bakery, again, that is something perfect that would be right across from Grand Junction. So I would strongly emphasize that side, even though the money would be, on the online retail portion, but just in terms of community building. And I'm not saying something to the extreme of what Rivet is down the street at Jersey, but just having that type of availability there for Grand Park Plaza with all the events and et cetera we're going to be having there, just would be perfect. So that's only my thoughts there.
I actually saw one other thing that I wanted to ask about in the Grand Junction Task Group's letter. They referenced the desire for a storefront on that building, and it kind of gets the idea of having more visibility and more vista towards the plaza. Any consideration of that on your part, or are you likely thinking the improvements, let's see where the 5 years go before you make significant improvements to the structure itself, changes, I should say?
So are you speaking about a physical storefront, or?
I guess I should back up half step. Did you see the
No, I have not,
Okay.
no.
So then I apologize, 'cause I'm hitting you with this without any preparation. It indicates, I would encourage the storefront within a reasonable amount of time, as we are trying to encourage foot traffic to prop up other small businesses in the area. Kind of similar to what Victor just said. But I assumed that this had been
Yeah,
forwarded to you.
I can probably be a little clearer on what the girls' intentions are. They really want to try to have people come in, spend some time inside, have their gifts, and they have hundreds of different types of gifts displayed so that the customer can create a box or actually just walk out with a gift. On top of that, one of the thoughts they had, to your point, Mr. McCarty, was they have spent all of them a decent amount of time in Europe, going around to the European bakeries and coffee shops and things like that. And I think one of their goals would try to be create a little bit of that type of atmosphere in downtown Westfield, whether it's, you know, the cannolis or the, I don't know, the French bakery items and things like that. So that's, I think, we've had many discussions about that, and I think that's the way they're trying to head with this.
We just had our culture event downtown, so having a French aspect would be very much so welcomed in that addition. Kind of expanding on it a little bit, I would see your business model as kind of threefold. Of one, you have the online retail. Two, when it comes to patrons coming and building their own boxes, I kind of see that as like a board and brush interactive type of atmosphere where you guys can have parties, etc. And then three, as you just mentioned, having that bakery / coffee shop, tea, whatever it may be. So again, capitalizing on the patrons that are driving downtown for Grand Junction in addition to all the events, etc. So.
Any other questions from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to approve 2108-VU-03217 Mill Street with the following recommended conditions: that the approval be limited to a gift and coffee shop with a bakery limited seating as described in the statement of intent, see Exhibit 4. And number 2, that the petitioners shall record an acknowledgement of this approval with the Hamilton County Recorder's Office and return a copy of the recorded instrument to the Community Development Department. And then should I add 3, the 5-year use? And then 3, that the current approved use to be limited to 5 years.
Usually, when we make the timeline motions, they expire at the end of a calendar year, December 31st. So I would recommend saying that this variance would expire December 31st, 2026. So it's it's more like 5 years and 3 months.
5 and a
But
quarter,
it
yeah.
gives a hard deadline to track.
That's acceptable, Petitioner. Okay. So the motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. McCarty, seconded by Ms. Fortier, to approve this petition subject to the stated conditions. Staff, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Morales?
Aye.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz?
Yes.
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Ms. Fortier?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, and I'll make a motion to adopt staff's findings of fact for the approval of this petition. Motion by myself, seconded by Ms. Fortier, to adopt staff's findings of fact for the approval of this petition. Dane, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Morales?
Yes.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz?
Yes.
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Ms. Fortier?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you. Your matter's approved. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Nice show. Next item on the agenda is 2019 VS 34 16334 Rivercrest Court. Scott Shanks seeking a variance of development standard to encroach 9 feet into a 30-foot rear yard setback to accommodate a swimming pool and deck.
And this is Dane Crabtree for the record. I did not get a chance to go around the neighborhood. I want to make sure Mr. Shanks is present today. Okay, all right. I'll do my little intro here. Good evening, members of the board. For the record, Dane Crabtree with the Community Development Department. The item before you this evening is a request for a variance of development standard for 16334 Rivercrest Court, a .57 acre parcel in the Brookside subdivision zoned SF2, single-family low density. Petitioner is requesting to encroach 9 feet into the 30-foot rear yard setback to accommodate a swimming pool and deck. This item has been properly noticed and advertised. The department has received no public comments, and the Brookside HOA has approved the petitioner's plans, as can be viewed in Exhibit 5. If the board is inclined to approve the variance, recommended conditions within the staff report are suggested as a part of the board's motion. The petitioner, Scott Shanks, is present this evening. He's at the podium right now. And he would like to give a brief presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shanks.
Scott Shanks, 16334 Rivercrest Court, Westfield. I don't have a presentation. I am not as sophisticated as this group that just left. In fact, we only have 2 people left in the room. So I am open to questions. I've done all of the, I've executed against all of the procedural efforts of certified letters to all my neighbors, sign in the yard. I'm looking for a setback from the 30 feet onto my property line. I do not encroach on the drainage, which is only 15 feet from the backyard, so I'm about 8 feet from that. And really, if you look at the picture, no one can even see the pool. So I tried to send as much information as I could prior to this to create a file for Dane and to present to the board. And I would like to say that Dane has been exemplary for his communication skills. And that's not me trying to brown nose. He's just been right on it. So I appreciate that, because that's not always what you get.
Thank you. Appreciate you saying so. Yes, one of the things that we look at with these pool location variances is the impact on neighbors. Usually if they have concerns, they're going to assert those concerns and attend the hearing, and none are here, it appears, although we'll open the public hearing here in a second. But having the pond and the tree line, it appears that tree line, does that effectively block visually the pool from the south properties?
Yes, accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions for the petitioner now before I open the public hearing? Okay, I will open the public hearing at 7:37. Do we have any cards?
We have no cards and no emails.
No electronics, so I'll wait a minute or so.
And Mr. Schmitz, if you like, this is a much better picture of the tree line right here.
Does your yard end at the gravel?
It is
platted
about
lot?
10 feet from the gravel, if you would.
10 feet short of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're off of that property line. I'm still 22 and a half feet away from the property line.
Okay.
So, yeah, the Brookside HOA requires a 30-foot setback. So I'm looking for 8.5 feet into the 30-foot setback.
Brookside does, or that's platted?
Brookside,
The HOA?
the HOA.
The SF2 subdivision requirements of the
Yeah.
UDO are that,
Okay,
but so
that's what I
by
thought.
default, they're
I didn't
the
figure they
Brookside
had a-
requirements, yeah.
Any- No, nothing additional, I presume?
No cards, no emails.
I'll close the public hearing then at 7:38. Any additional questions from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, where was it? 2109 VS 34, 16334 Rivercrest Court, Scott Shanks, with 2 recommended conditions: that the property be developed in substantial compliance with Site Plan Exhibit 3, and that the petitioner shall record an acknowledgement of this approval with the county recorder's office and return a copy of the recorded instrument to the Economic and Community Development Department.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Fortier, seconded by Mr. Bowler to approve this petition, subject to 2 stated conditions. Dane, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bowler,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Mr. Morales.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, and I'll make a motion to adopt staff's findings of fact for the approval of 2019 VS 34.
Second?
Motion by myself, seconded by Mr. McCarty to approve or adopt staff's findings of fact for the approval. Dane, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bowler,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Ms. Morales.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, and thank you, you are approved.
I enjoyed the time, my first visit, so I appreciate it, Dane.
You're
Thank you
undefeated.
for everything.
You're welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I'll give you your email.
Next item on the agenda, final item on the agenda is 2109 VS 36 17101 Rushmore Drive, Michael Gray, requesting a variance of development standard to permit a swimming pool within the established front yard of the property in an SF2 district. And that is Mr. Ernest.
Thank you, President, members of the board. For the record, Caleb Ernest with the Community Development Department. The project before you tonight is a variance of development standard for the location of a swimming pool on the property. The property is zoned SF2, single-family low density, and is located at 17101 Rushmore Drive. Adjacent properties to the north and west are also zoned SF2. To the east is zoned AGSF1, and to the south is zoned AGSF1I, which is agricultural single-family Westfield district. The petitioner is requesting a variance of development standard to permit a swimming pool within the southern established front yard of the property. This item is before you for a public hearing. It has been properly noticed and advertised. Staff has received no public comments. Michael Gray, along with his wife, are here and plan to make a brief presentation. Afterwards, they and I will be available for questions. Thank you.
You were good, go ahead. Yeah.
Michael Gray, 17101 Rushmore Drive, Westfield 46074. I just want to mention that you'll notice that where the entrance property, we don't have an HOA. We do have I think a 25-foot landscaping easement that you'll see with the neighborhood sign, the hill that provides privacy, plus the blue spruces. So we already have a pre-existing privacy fence. It will be inside that privacy fence. So although it is technically two front yards, it normally would appear as a backyard if there was an HOA that owned that first section. And that's all.
While you're up there, I'll have a couple questions.
Yep.
One direct to you. And if you could pull up the pool design exhibit 4. Yeah. So in there you labeled existing sheds. So basically, but it's a different location, right? So you
Correct.
take the shed and slide it forward. Okay. But it's the same shed, different location.
And we hope to make that into like a pool house, essentially, yeah. But that would still be within the existing privacy fence.
The other question I had is that is the existing fence, the location has changed on the shed, but the fence location is here is as it presently exists. In other words, that's the existing fence location is what's shown,
Correct.
and everything will be inside the fence. The pool and
And that back wall of the fence is actually on a retaining wall that's elevated, so there's additional privacy to the people behind us.
back to the east.
Correct.
Okay.
You'll see that gray is the retaining wall gravel. The fence is inside that gravel. Yeah. It is not a very big pool.
13.5 by 26. Seems like it's a lot.
Yep.
Impact is in for outsiders. I noticed we didn't have any, I'm not seeing any conditions for the approval. What we typically do in these pool location variances is ask that it be approved subject to the condition that that it be developed and the property be developed consistent with, in this case, your pool design exhibit. And I presume that would be acceptable. From my perspective, if we just blanket approve it in that yard, that pool could be, I'm happy with this.
Yeah.
But I'm not necessarily happy with other things that could be in that same yard, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, but if you're amenable to that condition, then that satisfies that.
Y- Yes, that would be the plan to follow that plan.
I haven't been public hearing today. Okay. I'm gonna open the public hearing at 7:44. No one in the audience. If you have anything, electronic,
No emails and no members of the public in the house.
so go ahead and give it a minute while you have any, yeah, go ahead.
So how are you going to, how are they gonna get, where are they gonna access the pool? Are they gonna go in through the front? Are they gonna go in through the back? How are they gonna? Yes, in the construction.
Oh,
I'm just curious.
it's actually real nice and easy for them. They just go straight through our side yard there.
Will they come through the trees or will they,
No, straight through the front yard.
okay, so they'll take that part of the fence down and then reconstruct it?
Yep.
No public comments.
What are they gonna do with the shed? Are they gonna bring the shed out and then put the shed back in?
Yeah, I don't know where they're gonna store the shed or hold the shed as they do the construction.
Yes.
So I don't know if they'll have it sit on the driveway or if there's a spot in the backyard that they can move it to.
No comments.
How long do they expect for it to take?
3 to 5 weeks. We were gonna start this week, but we're gonna wait until next spring.
Question for staff, if, we add the one condition, do you always want the condition about recording the acknowledgement?
That one is kind of boilerplate, and it's on pretty much every condition, the one about.
We don't have any conditions in here, so would that be the motion?
It's not a requirement. There's nothing that makes the variance more valid by the recordation of that document, but it's just something we like to have. You can add it if you'd like.
Can you pull up the staff report? There should be 2 conditions on the staff. Okay. But the additional one that you suggested was not on there. So, but there were 2.
I would entertain a motion for this petition unless we have further questions or comments. Or since I brought up that issue, maybe I'll make a motion to approve 2109BS36, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, that the variance only applies to properties southern establishment yard adjacent to 171st Street. 2, that petitioner shall report an acknowledgement of this approval with the Hamilton County Recorder's Office and return a copy of the recorded instruments to the Community Development Department. And 3rd, that the property be developed in substantial compliance with the pool design exhibit 4.
I'll second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Ms. Fortier to approve 2109BS36, subject to 3 conditions. Jane, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Ms. Fortier?
Yes.
Mr. Morales?
Yes.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And I'll make a motion to adopt staff's findings of fact for the approval of this petition.
Second?
Motion by myself, seconded by Mr. McCarty to adopt staff's findings of fact for the approval of 2109 VS 36. Dan, can you call the roll?
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Ms. Fortier?
Yes.
Mr. Morales?
Yes.
Mr. Bowler?
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you. You're all approved. To finish up tonight, reports, Plan Commission liaison. Victor, you want to bring us up to speed on the last couple meetings? Well, at least,
Yeah.
whatever you want to do.
Wait, which one was that? Sorry. There we go. Our 9/7 meeting. On our consent agenda, we had Sonic that's going to be in front of Tractor Supply. a new ortho indie location that's going to move down from Titus over to this new larger location, again, over by Tractor Supply. Star Bank, well, I shouldn't say Tractor Supply, I should say next to the post office, between the post office and where Bell Tire is, but in that general vicinity. Star Bank is going to be the last frontage location there where our second Chick-fil-A and Portillo's is going, so Star Bank right in between those two. We approved the cabin that's going in right next door on the consent agenda, and then items of business, Bonterra, which we gave a favorable, or approved 7-0. Spring Mill Trails Amendment, we gave a favorable recommendation to that, 6-1. Council approved that last night. And the public hearing we had for Osborne Trails Phase 2, and that is it, I believe.
Thank you. Community Development Department?
Nothing other than we did receive variance applications, so we'll see you next month.
Are these two continued ones, are they coming back or are they gone?
I anticipate them to be back as well.
Great. I will make a motion to adjourn at 7:51.
I will second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Mrs. Fortier to adjourn at 7:51. Dane, please call the roll.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Mr. Morales,
Yes.
Mr. Bowler,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty.
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.